Deep inside a secure royal estate, a locked drawer holds a piece of history most believed was gone forever. It was Princess Diana's iconic emerald bracelet, a stunning piece of jewelry wrapped in deep royal controversy. Official records long claimed the collection was sealed and accounted for. Yet, inside Camilla's private quarters, the missing treasure sat quietly in the dark. How did a priceless heirloom vanish from public view, and what secrets does its sudden reappearance finally reveal? Following the tragic events of August 1997, the global public watched closely as the personal estates of Princess Diana were catalogued and distributed according to strict royal protocols and final wishes. Among the missing items was a distinct, heavily customized emerald tennis bracelet gifted during her marriage, a piece loaded with personal significance and immense monetary value. For years, palace insiders whispered about missing inventory, but official channels maintained total silence. As public curiosity grew, investigators and royal biographers realized standard accounting procedures had completely missed several high-profile items. The trail went cold for decades, leaving fans to wonder if the treasured jewelry had been sold off privately or locked away forever in an undisclosed vault. Every single item passing through royal hands carries a heavy history, but few possessions hold the symbolic weight of the jewelry worn by the people's princess during her most public and private struggles. When the estate was initially settled, lawyers, executors, and family representatives sat across heavy mahogany tables to ensure every piece of gold, diamond, and emerald was accounted for. Inventory ledgers were filled out by hand, checked twice, and signed off with official seals designed to prevent any future disputes. Yet, in the rush and emotional weight of those turbulent weeks, human error or deliberate quiet decisions began to leave small gaps in the official paper trail. Over the years, biographers noticed subtle inconsistencies between the inventory lists published by estate managers and the actual pieces catalogued in public exhibitions or private family collections. Certain items that appeared prominently in photographs from official overseas tours seemed to vanish entirely from the itemized distribution sheets. Whispers circulated among retired members of the household staff about boxes being moved late at night under heavy security, away from the prying eyes of the media. For a long time, these stories were dismissed as mere speculation, the kind of rumors that always surround public figures of such magnitude. Yet, beneath the surface, the architecture of royal storage is vast, layered, and notoriously difficult to audit completely. Items are often categorized not just by monetary worth, but by historical sentiment, personal connection, and family politics. A piece given during a marriage might be subject to different rules of ownership than a piece purchased privately or inherited through direct lineage. As decades passed, generations shifted, and new principles took residence within the historic walls of the estate. Old inventories began to gather dust, tucked away in filing cabinets that rarely saw the light of day. But official palace logs failed to account for a mysterious key kept in a restricted private office. Weeks before a scheduled audit of historical jewelry holdings, a senior staff member tasked with organizing archive drawers stumbled upon a hidden compartment. Tucked away beneath personal items in Camilla's private storage unit sat a velvet-lined leather box bearing no public label. Upon opening the latch, the distinct green flash of genuine Zambian emeralds immediately caught the light. This was not a modern reproduction or a similar catalogued item. Microscopic hallmarks confirmed it was the exact piece worn by Diana during her 1989 official overseas tour. The find raised immediate questions about how a personal gift ended up securely stored in a completely different household within the royal family. The discovery did not happen by accident. Archives within large historical estates require meticulous maintenance, and when old storage systems are digitized or physically reorganized, long-forgotten spaces are finally forced open. The drawer in question was part of a heavy oak bureau that had remained untouched for years, its brass lock stiff with age. As the staff member slid the internal panel aside, the hidden compartment revealed itself not as a secret vault, but as a simple sliding tray designed to keep sensitive papers and small valuables out of general circulation. Inside that tray, resting quietly beneath a layer of faded linen, was the dark leather box. When the lid was lifted, the rich green stones seemed to hold on to whatever light managed to filter through the heavy curtains of the private office. The craftsmanship was unmistakable. Each emerald was cut in a classic square style, surrounded by a delicate border of brilliant cut diamonds set in yellow gold. It was a distinctive design, easily recognized by anyone who had studied the extensive photographic record of the late 1980s. This was the exact bracelet that had graced Diana's wrist during high-profile charity events and state banquets, captured by hundreds of cameras flashing in unison. The immediate silence in the room was heavy. Finding such an item outside of the designated Heritage Trust vaults immediately triggered a quiet internal protocol. Staff members are trained to handle historical discrepancies with extreme discretion, ensuring that no premature panic or media leaks disrupt the delicate balance of the household. Every catalog number was checked against the master database, and every historical acquisition record was pulled from the digital archives. The physical evidence was right there on the velvet lining, undeniable and completely out of place. What made the discovery even more shocking was the handwritten note left directly beside the velvet box. Inside the velvet box, a single slip of heavy parchment paper contained a short, handwritten directive concerning the bracelet's future. The note outlined an unpublicized redistribution plan intended to prevent public friction during a tense transitional period within the monarchy years prior. Rather than a malicious theft or a lost item, the document pointed to a calculated, quiet administrative choice made by senior aides to control royal optics. As word of the note began to circulate among select household advisors, the gravity of the cover-up became undeniable. Millions of viewers following royal jewelry lineages have long debated where Diana's personal effects went, but nobody anticipated an internal transfer of this magnitude. Have you ever wondered how many other royal items remain hidden from public view? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The handwriting on the parchment was neat, formal, and unmistakably indicative of a bygone era of internal palace administration. It did not carry an angry tone or a defensive justification, rather, it read like a cold, pragmatic memo meant to solve a logistical problem before it could reach the public eye. During times of immense emotional and structural upheaval within the family, decisions regarding physical assets were frequently made behind closed doors by individuals whose primary goal was the preservation of institutional stability. To them, moving a piece of jewelry from one private location to another was merely a matter of house management, an administrative adjustment designed to keep competing factions from clashing over symbolic property. However, the reality of modern public interest means that nothing stays hidden forever. When historical artifacts associated with figures like Diana are quietly relocated, the absence of transparency creates a vacuum where speculation thrives. The note explained that the bracelet had been placed in secure storage to prevent it from becoming a point of contention during a sensitive period of family restructuring. Yet, the existence of that note also proved that items were being moved outside the established legal framework of the estate executors and the designated beneficiaries. It was a revelation that stunned the few advisors privileged enough to read the parchment. The implications stretched far beyond a simple misplaced piece of jewelry. It touched on questions of trust, authority, and the delicate boundaries between private family possessions and historical heritage. As the details of the note were whispered along the corridors of power, it became clear that a formal review could no longer be avoided. The system had operated on internal agreements for too long, trusting that old habits and closed doors would keep past decisions shielded from public scrutiny. And that is when independent palace accountants noticed a second set of missing records that nobody was supposed to see. Known for her sharp attention to detail and zero tolerance for protocol breaches, Princess Anne was quietly brought in to verify the contents of the private drawer. Tasked with resolving internal inventory discrepancies before an upcoming public transparency report, Anne inspected the emerald bracelet alongside independent legal witnesses. Her investigation quickly moved past simple record-keeping errors and straight into the motives behind the secret relocation of Diana's personal property. By examining security logs and interviewing retired staff, Anne pieced together a timeline that exposed how personal rivalries inside the household dictated the placement of priceless historical artifacts. Princess Anne has long held a reputation within the family as the person who gets things done without seeking the spotlight. When complicated or sensitive domestic issues require a firm hand and an uncompromising eye, she is the one leadership turns to. Stepping into the private office where the emerald bracelet was found, she approached the task with the methodical precision of someone accustomed to military-grade organization and strict accountability. She did not accept surface-level explanations or vague assurances from administrative staff. Instead, she demanded the original physical ledgers, signed transfer slips, and digital access logs for every terminal that had touched the inventory databases over the previous 2 decades. Working alongside independent legal witnesses to ensure total impartiality, and laid out the physical items side by side with the historical ledgers. The discrepancy was stark. Items that were officially marked as distributed to specific trusts or held in designated national archives simply did not match the physical reality inside the private drawer. Through targeted questioning of retired aides who had served during the transitional years, she began to uncover the human element behind the paperwork. Staff members who had long since left service recounted instructions given under strict conditions of confidentiality, revealing a complex web of internal politics designed to manage possessions without drawing the attention of the press or the wider family. The investigation proved that the relocation of the bracelet was not an isolated incident. It was part of a broader pattern of managing high-profile assets during periods when public relations took precedence over strict administrative accuracy. Anne's report did not rely on emotion or sensationalism, it was built entirely on hard facts, signed documents, and verifiable timelines. By laying out the truth with absolute clarity, she ensured that the issue could no longer be brushed under the rug or treated as a minor administrative oversight. Before Anne could officially log the item into the main vault, a sudden directive from senior management halted the entire process. The sudden reappearance of the emerald bracelet ignited a fierce behind-the-scenes debate among senior royal principals regarding public disclosure and family legacy. While some advisors pushed for an immediate, transparent return of the jewelry to Diana's direct bloodline, others argued that releasing the details would reopen painful media narratives from the past. Camilla's team maintained that the item was secured for safekeeping during a chaotic period of estate reorganization, denying any intent to conceal its existence. Yet, the physical presence of the jewelry in a private drawer proved that valuable assets could easily bypass standard royal oversight when internal politics took precedence over property rights. The corridors of power within major historical institutions are rarely quiet when high-stakes decisions are brought to the table. As news of Anne's findings rippled upward, emergency meetings were convened behind soundproof doors. The debate quickly divided the advisory staff into 2 distinct camps. On one side were the traditionalists who believed that any admission of misplaced inventory would damage the institution's credibility, inviting endless media speculation and public criticism. They argued for quiet containment, keeping the bracelet within the secure confines of the family holdings while quietly updating the internal databases to reflect its actual location. On the other side stood those who understood that modern accountability requires absolute transparency, especially when dealing with the highly sensitive legacy of Princess Diana. Any attempt to conceal or quietly absorb the item risks a far greater scandal if the truth leaks out through unauthorized channels. Camilla's representatives maintained that the storage of the bracelet was entirely benign, a routine security measure taken during a time when the estate was flooded with thousands of personal items requiring immediate cataloging. They stressed that no malicious intent existed and that the jewelry had simply remained in a secure drawer while broader administrative priorities took precedence. Yet, the physical reality of the discovery could not be easily dismissed with bureaucratic excuses. The bracelet sat there as a tangible reminder that power and possession within elite households often operate outside the lines drawn by public expectation. If a piece of jewelry carrying such immense historical and emotional weight could simply be tucked away in a private drawer and forgotten for years, it raised unsettling questions about what else might be resting quietly in the dark corners of the royal archives. If you appreciate uncovering the real history behind closed palace doors, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for our upcoming investigations. As the reality of public perception sets in, decisions must be made about whether the emerald bracelet will finally be displayed or handed down to the next generation of the family. Every piece of jewelry carrying Diana's name carries an emotional weight that resonates deeply with people around the world who still feel a personal connection to her memory. When historical items are locked away or quietly moved, it reminds us how fragile our own memories and connections to the past can be in a fast-moving world. Protecting a legacy is never just about physical objects, it is about honoring the truth of what happened behind closed doors. The connection people feel toward historical figures is often anchored to physical tokens, a dress worn on a red carpet, a ring exchanged during a wedding, or a bracelet catching the light during a charity visit. When those items disappear from public view or are shifted around in secret, it feels to many like a small piece of history is being rewritten or erased. Life moves fast, and in our own lives, we often struggle to keep hold of the physical items that connect us to the people we have lost. We pack things away in boxes, move from house to house, and sometimes find old treasures hidden in the back of a drawer, bringing a sudden rush of memory and emotion. That shared human experience is why stories like this resonate so powerfully. It is not just about the monetary value of gold and emeralds, though that value is staggering. It is about the principle of preservation, the idea that history belongs to the truth rather than the convenience of the moment. Protecting a legacy requires honesty, even when that honesty is uncomfortable or inconvenient for those in charge. When families hold on to things in secret, they risk distorting the very history they claim to safeguard. True respect for the past means letting things be seen, understood, and remembered as they truly were. Because the next item scheduled for removal from that private drawer is even more controversial than emeralds. Today, the emerald bracelet remains under strict observation while senior officials determine its final permanent resting place within the royal collection. The incident has permanently changed how outside observers view the internal security and accountability of private royal archives. What started as a rumor among biographers turned out to be a stark reminder that history is often shaped by those who hold the keys to the drawers. As long as private compartments remain locked away from public view, more lost pieces of history wait quietly for someone brave enough to open them. The final chapter of this story has not yet been written, because the systems that control these historical treasures are still largely hidden from public sight. Every archive, every vault, and every private drawer holds a silent record of decisions made by people who came before us. While the emerald bracelet has been brought out into the light, the questions it raised about inventory control, administrative discretion, and family politics will linger for years to come. Observers, historians, and royal watchers will continue to watch the closely guarded doors, knowing full well that physical objects have a way of revealing secrets when least expected. History has a quiet persistence. No matter how carefully items are catalogued, moved, or hidden away, the truth tends to surface when the right person turns the key at the right time. The discovery of Diana's bracelet in Camilla's private drawer proved that the past is never truly buried, it simply waits in the dark, resting on velvet, until the world is ready to look again. And just when you think every secret has been uncovered, the next video reveals the hidden diary entries that started it all.